Hello and welcome to the third IBP Bytes recording, a series of snapshot interviews with Imperial academics providing unique insights into their research and how new technologies and innovation might disrupt business and society. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Celine Mougenot. Celine is a senior lecturer at the Dyson School of Design Engineering at Imperial. Her research focuses on design cognition and collaborative design, investigating the socio-cognitive aspects of innovation processes and what conditions favour multidisciplinary and multicultural collaborations. These findings inform the development of tools that can support user-centred innovation, something which I hope to explore with Celine today. Celine, thanks so much for joining me. For those unfamiliar with the term of collaborative design, could you perhaps provide some background and context to this exciting concept?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Yes, collaborative design is about collaboration between people. So the main idea is that in innovation processes, people and the way they work together and the way they share understanding and knowledge is very important, and this will affect the innovation outcomes. So my research is about looking at these processes, these conversations between people, the work processes, how people work together in innovation activities. I'm looking at how people from different disciplines, different types of professional activities work together, but also how innovators work together or talk and share understanding with people who will eventually use the innovation outcomes. So members of the general public, citizens, for example.
Okay, that's really interesting. And looking at it from an organizational perspective, what are some of the key benefits of collaborative design for businesses?
I would say as a researcher, I'm really interested in supporting collaborative design because I think it's morally and ethically very important to engage the public and citizens in innovation processes. But there are indeed also benefits for businesses in terms of revenue, in terms of development of new businesses. So, for instance, there's been an interesting research done by McKinsey about the benefits of having a design-based approach in innovation. And they published a report showing that companies that were following a customer and user-centric approach, as well as having cross-functional working processes, were actually more successful. So these customer user-centric approach and working across functions and across disciplines is really the essence of a design-based approach, and this is linked to higher revenue and more successful businesses.
That's great. And referring back to some of your work at Imperial, what are some of the practical outcomes of research on collaborative design?
For example, I was interested in looking at we could involve end users, customers, in the design process. So to that, we developed a virtual reality platform that could be used by, of course, designers and innovators who are familiar with that kind of platforms, but also by people from the general public without any specific design skills, for example. And the platform was actually allowing anyone to design anything in a virtual environment. So the point of designing such immersive technology is to actually empower end users and members of the public and give them the capability of influencing the innovation processes. So that's about like developing tools, for instance, immersive tech. But I'm also interested in developing methods and approaches where and creating environments where end users and members of the public can interact with innovators. For instance, looking at workshops and developing tools in the form of, let's say, decks of cards that can be used during the workshop to facilitate the conversation between innovators and members of the public. So that's type of work that's very practical outcomes that we can move outside the university and develop with many different types of businesses in different fields.
Really interesting. And looking forward towards the adoption of new technologies in what is arguably a period of increasing uncertainty, what is the potential application of your work in the field of AI specifically?
Yes, I think that's very an interesting area to look at, and where I think design, collaborative design, can have a very strong impact. So you're probably aware of what happened in the US a few days ago, where a man was arrested because of a faulty facial recognition algorithm. And it's been showed that these algorithm and AI technology is actually quite biased. They've been shown to have gender biases, ethnic biases, and it's partly because these algorithms and technologies are developed by people who are actually biased towards certain demographics. And to balance this or to mitigate these biases, I think design can support the conversation between innovators and underrepresented users. So I'm really interested in developing these aspects and creating an environment and a space where innovators and members of underrepresented groups of the society can actually have a conversation about what the real needs are for most of the population and what are their wishes and opinions, and create and have the innovators access easily voice of different people and access diversity and embrace diversity of opinions. That's
great. Clearly a lot of work to do in that space. Thank you so much for your time today, Celine. Really, really appreciate it. That was a fantastic discussion.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.